from the College by the Lake, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Local, regional, national, and international guests discussing the issues and topics affecting the way you live are on Forum, the North Idaho College Public Forum, with your host and moderator, political scientist Tony Stewart.
On behalf of the staff of the North Idaho College Public Forum, I take great pleasure in welcoming all our viewers to the beginning of the 23rd year of this particular series. Last year, halfway through the season, we had 4 new PBS stations to join the 2 that we've been with for many years. And as we start this new season, we're so pleased to be on 6 different stations that cover portions of the Pacific Northwest and also British Columbia and Alberta. We're very delighted that you have joined us, and we hope that this season we bring you the programs that you're most interested in. And throughout that time, we would invite you to give us suggestions. We're always looking for those kind of topics that most interest you, and we thank you for being viewers of the North Idaho College Public Forum. It is most appropriate that we start out the new season with 2 great friends of this program. We welcome to the program Sue Flamia, who's an attorney in the state of Idaho, and next to her is Bob Brown, who's also an attorney. And as I just indicated, they have both been very supportive of PBS and what we are trying to do here. And I also can say that, and their purpose for being here today is this subject, that I could find no 2 individuals in Idaho that have been great or friends of the arts in our state and given their time in promoting the arts, great patrons of the arts, and they certainly have been recognized for that work. Next week, the Idaho Governor's Awards in the Arts will be coming to Coeur d'Alene for the first time in its existence. In fact, it will be on Saturday, September the 17th, and we're happy to, on this program today, to be promoting what is going to happen. And Bob Brown, who I've just introduced as one of our guests, is coordinating the fact that the awards are coming out of Boise for the very first time. He's also a member of the Idaho Commission on the Arts, and he's the past chair. In addition to that, he is the Idaho delegate to the Western States Art Federation, so it's very appropriate that he be here as the coordinator for this particular award. And Sue Flamia comes with exactly the same kind of outstanding credentials. She is the former representative from this area on the Idaho Commission on the Arts. She is also, as we'll find out today, been one of the recipients of the Governor's Awards, and that was certainly very justified. Both of our guests have also been supporters and organizers from the beginning of Art on the Green, which is tremendous success every year on the campus at North Idaho College. Again, it's a pleasure to welcome both of you here, and we look forward to what is going to happen in Coeur d'Alene. And I'm very pleased to welcome back for another year, and I believe this is Dean Shink's either 9th or 10th year on the program as a panel member, Steve Shink, who's the Dean of College Relations and Development at North Idaho College, and I shall ask Steve to commence the questioning.
Thank you, Tony. Bob, I'll begin with you, if I may. Maybe you take just a few minutes and to fill in someone who's not nearly as well informed about the arts as he should be about some of the exciting things we can look forward to as part of the Governor's Awards ceremonies.
Yeah, the ceremonies, as Tony said, has almost always been held in the Boise area. I think there was one time that they moved away from Boise, but generally speaking, they're held down there. The feeling has been that in a small town like Coeur d'Alene, there would not be the attendance, that we couldn't put on the kind of a show that they could in a larger city like Boise. So one of the pressures that we're feeling on the Northern Commissioners is to make the show as exciting as we can and to make it as successful, so that to me this kind of an award ceremony, to always have it in Boise, puts a great burden on people in the north and south east part of the state. We always have to go there for the ceremony, and many people would love to attend, and it's a very expensive to go down. So that was one of the arguments we had for bringing it to Coeur d'Alene. We were very fortunate in Coeur d'Alene to have facilities like North Idaho College Auditorium with seating 1,200. Many towns our size would not have that. That has to be a consideration. The resort and its ability to host a large reception, those are the things that have made the choice of Coeur d'Alene possible, I think.
Sue, what can we look forward to specifically in terms of the kind of events and entertainments that surround the award ceremony?
You mean specifically during the event itself?
Mm-hmm.
I know that there will be a wonderful production by Leon Atkinson, and he's one of the favorite artists around here, fine guitarist. Kay Damiano is going to sing one of my favorite tunes, the Musetta's Waltz, and also she'll do other selections, which I believe we'll get to hear. But there will be other things going on. Plus, there will be receptions and so on. And I would just add in here, Bob and I were speaking as we started the show, there's a wonderful exhibit from the Smithsonian that is on at the Union Gallery in the Student Union here at North Idaho College. And we will have that gallery open so that people can go to see that exhibit before they go to the award ceremony.
And you're talking about the Freddie Miller exhibit?
Yes.
We have housed some tape, and thanks to Bob Brown, and in a moment we're going to show some of that tape because Sue, Bob was just mentioning the fact that there is, in addition to the actual awarding and honoring of those individuals, that there's really a program. And so you, I know, have brought 3 different samples of what people are going to get, and I'm going to ask you to introduce the first one. We've got these in a certain sequence, and after you introduce it, they're going to run a little bit of the tape, and then you and I will come back and talk about it.
If I could also, before we start that, just I think it's important to understand that the governor, and will be here, of course, Patty Duke, who lives in Coeur d'Alene, has agreed to be the co-host of this event. So just for openers, having the governor and Patty Duke on stage with their ability to banter back and forth, and they're both extremely good at impromptu type things, that would make it worth the price of admission at $10. But it really is sort of like an Academy Award show, and that's perhaps what I wanted to mention first for people to understand. There'll be the awards will be sprinkled through the evening, and then the entertainment will be in the interspersed between the awards, so that it won't be. And the awards are not a surprise. The people know they're receiving it. It's been announced who the recipients are, so there's not that gripping drama of who is, but it's not a competitive thing among those people.
They don't open the envelope.
They won't open the envelope, no. But it will be a very gala evening with a nice mixture of awards and then the entertainment as well. Now, the first piece we'll see today will be Kay Damiano, who also lives in Coeur d'Alene, but has studied voice at the University of Arizona, received degrees there, has been noted over the entire Northwest as a very accomplished singer. She will be, has sung with Uptown Opera in Spokane, has given concerts here, Steve, that I know you're familiar with, for the foundation fundraisers, which have sold hundreds of tickets. So
we're delighted to have her talent from time to time.
And so she will be not singing the piece that you're hearing today, will not be sung, but we wanted to give people an opportunity to see the quality of her voice and the kind of entertainment we're talking about.
At this time, we will listen to that number. Well, that was something that is just a great example to give to what they will hear, those who attend. Bob, tell us a little bit more about Kay, and you did some before we...
Sure. You also may have noticed that there was a symphony orchestra playing with her. The North Idaho College Symphony will be playing that night as the musical backup group for Kay Damiano, and also for a young lady who plays the flute from, she's from Sandpoint area, Rhonda Braditich Tift, and she's won an Idaho Commission on the Arts Fellowship and has studied in New York and has tremendous future with it. But North Idaho Symphony Orchestra will be playing for both of them. But Kay has, her voice is absolutely lovely, and she has picked 2 pieces for the Saturday night that she feels will be very, very lyrical, very easy to listen to, and it'll make opera lovers out of people who perhaps didn't think of themselves as being opera lovers, because both pieces are just lovely.
One thing that you've said that really is interesting about the program is that you're not doing it in blocks, you're inserting the awards between different entertainment and performances. And also you have a variety, don't you, of the kind of, the whole evening is not about, in the entertainment section, about opera, but that is one piece of the entertainment.
Exactly. We would have loved to have had representations of the classic performing arts, a dance company, a theater, short theater production, a literature, singing, instrumental music, all the different parts that make up performing arts. No one show can ever capture that. It's not fair to the artist to say we want 2 minutes of dance. And so we've tried a little different approach. Last 2 years ago at the Governor's Award, we had theater and dance. And so this year we're doing literature and the opera, jazz, guitar, and classical guitar, the flute piece, and poetry.
In fact, that brings us to the bridge that we want to build. Very good, Bob. A very talented person. In fact, this person we used on our General Assembly program for the International Human Rights Conference, which was here last October. Tell us about Eleanor and what she's going to do, and then we're going to, I know, hear some of her poetry right now.
Well, Eleanor Byers and her husband Walt moved here to Coeur d'Alene several years ago, retiring after many years working in Germany. It's been an extensive time abroad, and Eleanor began writing poetry while many years ago, and came here and got active in the Coeur d'Alene Writers Group, and has been a real mainstay in that group. She has had published poetry at in several books, and has been asked to read her poetry at the Western Poets Convention in San Francisco area. She was asked to read one of her poems. So, as you mentioned, she was also one of the 2 poets who read at the International Women's Conference last year, and the excerpt we'll be seeing today was actually a poem that she had written and read that at that time.
Well, this is a wonderful time to give our viewers a sample.
Joyfully plotting retirement. Dearest Margaret, yes, we've agreed when we grow newly old to live side by side in your farm in Vermont where we can raise goats, the small brown kind, following close and bleating of love. We've said we want cats, all colors of cats, to play in the shade on hot summer days, to purr by the stove when evenings are cold. And Margaret, remember our plan to grow plants with long Latin names and prize-winning Bibb lettuce for good-tasting salads. You'll make tabbouleh, you do it so well. I'll roast a capon with shallots and beans. How well we will dine, drinking mint tea or watered white wine, followed by cheese and sweet almonds. Indeed, we can travel wherever we like, just as long as we're home by noon.
Well, that was, again, a great example of the kind of talent that you put together for this program. Tell us, I know a little bit more about Eleanor and her works, and I know at the Assembly of the International Conference, she moved the audience very much with that reading.
She had thought about writing a poem originally for this, and decided that sometimes that kind of a commissioning thing doesn't come out as well, and she wanted to read some poems. She thought there was one in particular that would be especially appropriate for this award that she'd written before. And the guitarist that I mentioned is Leon Atkinson. He lives up in the Sandpoint area.
A lot of talent here in the local area.
Oh, there. And we also, since the show has not gotten out of, been in North Idaho, that we thought it would be nice to showcase North Idaho talent. When we're in Boise, we frequently get wonderful talent like the Idaho Theater for Youth, the the dance companies, the Boise Philharmonic, but we thought it'd be fun to feature the outstanding talent that we have in the immediate area.
And that also encourages young,
Exactly.
blossoming artists to do that. And that's what the Idaho Commission's all about, isn't it?
Well, and Rhonda is a good example. We don't have the flute player. She is just extraordinary. She's going to be playing the Carmen Fantasy, which a lot of people know the music from Carmen, Toreador song, things like that. So she'll be doing that with the North Idaho Symphony. Then Leon Atkinson is, of course, an internationally acclaimed artist who has chosen to remain in the Sandpoint area. He certainly could have many opportunities in anywhere in the United States that he wanted to go, but he's always chosen to remain here. And he is known for his classical guitar. He studied with Segovia, and he's as known for that as he is for his wonderful jazz interpretations. And so I suspect that night we'll probably hear one of each because I think he would probably be more comfortable in playing some jazz and also playing some the classical.
Again, thanks to you, our viewers who may be thinking about coming, or even those who can't come, we've brought an example of his work, and at this time we would like to listen to what Leon Atkinson has done in the past. Well, I'm sure you viewers have gotten a great taste of what is going to happen next Saturday at North Idaho College when we have the Idaho Governor's Awards in the Arts, and we just were delighted that we could give you those examples. And Bob Brown, I would say to you that we've had the pleasure on this program to interview Leon, and he brought his guitar and just performed, I think it was over hours format at that time, and I do agree with you that he's really renowned, a great professional internationally. I'm going to go back to Steve before I do. I would be in trouble with our viewers if I did not give you the opportunity to tell them how they can get in touch with your organization to come to the time and where it is and the phone number.
There are tickets that are for sale in Wallace, in that area of Silver Valley at the Wallace Arts Center, in Sandpoint, at Eves Lee's. Marilyn Sabella is on the Commission on the Arts, and at her shop she agreed to have the tickets. In Coeur d'Alene, they're available at Gallery by the Lake in the Resort Shopping Center. And G&B, and I do want to just thank them publicly, they agreed to handle these tickets without any of their customary charge. So any G&B ticket outlet or the telephone, 1-800, I think, get a seat or whatever it is that you can get tickets. There'll also be tickets at the door if there are any left, but every group has been asking for more tickets. They're selling tickets quite fast. So
and that's an evening performance.
At 8 p.m. on Saturday, the 17th of September at Boswell Auditorium at the North Idaho College campus. But anybody who really is planning on going, I think they would be better off to contact G&B or contact one of the other regular ticket agencies, because
I hope you don't mind. We put up on the screen your telephone number if all else fails.
Oh, sure, that's fine.
This is your office number, but if they fail all those others, they could call here.
I don't care how many numbers I gave you. I think that we've already gotten so many phone calls, and my secretary is so used to this. She's got everything down pat, so she'll be delighted to have the phone ring off the wall.
That's again an example of how Sue and Bob use their own time and facilities to help promote the arts. With that, Steve Sheen.
So your advice, Bob, is buy your ticket sooner. Wait for it to come out on videotape. You really think that it will be a sold-out event soon?
We're really hoping to have at least 2,000 people. A sellout would be beyond our wildest dreams, but it's the kind of event that if people know about it, they're going to want to go. And unfortunately, so often in this busy time, school starting, a lot of things are going on. It may be the kind of event that will slip by, and I hope that if people want to see it, that they will take advantage of the early ticket purchase.
Well, let me I'm glad Tony asked the questions that he did, because the salesman in me was going to make me ask exactly the same question. I can get to the culturally correct kinds of questions. If you would first give us a little bit of a background about the history of this event, put it in some perspective for us. How long has it been going on? Who started it? Things like that.
Well, this is the 12th biennial award, and that means, because I looked it up to make sure, it's 24 years. Actually, Governor Samuelson, who, curiously enough, is still living in the Sandpoint area. So finally, after he started this program 24 years ago, we're bringing it to his home area. But he started it in 1970, and then he lost that election, and Governor Andrus then was elected in 70. But the program had already taken place in February of that year. Then in 72, Governor Andrus, and through his first 6 years in office, then Governor Evans continued the program, and it's never been interrupted since then. We've had it every 2 years. One time, I believe they had it in Sun Valley. Sometimes they just had it on the Capitol steps. It's been a very checkered history on the program, but it has been continuous, and the awards, we have a complete listing of all the people who have ever received this award, and there's not very many. They've always kept it quite low. We have two from Coeur d'Alene area. Tony had mentioned that Sue and Pat Flamia had won for support of the arts, and that was 4 years ago at the Centennial. And then 2 years ago, Jane Morgan, who lives in Coeur d'Alene and teaches at Dalton School, received a medal for support of the arts and education. So we now, it's actually three people. The Flamias was like a joint award, but the three people who live in Coeur d'Alene immediate area have been recipients.
Bob is a great guest to have, because he always leads right into your next question. That is a perfect opportunity for me to ask Sue, as a former recipient, what kinds of awards we'll see presented in Coeur d'Alene, and what the criteria are for selecting the award winners.
Thank you, Steve. It's a great thrill, of course, to be even nominated for one of these awards. And Patrick and I received the award for support of the arts, and that's based on the amount of time one is involved in supporting the arts, the breadth of experience, and so on. And those awards can be for an individual or for an organization. Different corporations, different arts groups have been selected. Also, very important, of course, is the honoring the individual artist. And those they're nominated and they are selected through a panel process. So their work is judged by other working artists. So it's based on the excellence of the work done, plus the longevity of the work. So that's the second one. And then, very importantly, also support of arts in education. And certainly we know that that's so important in the development of arts appreciators as well as artists for the future. So those are the three categories.
So the award then to a specific artist isn't art specific. It wouldn't go to a painter, for instance, or to a musician, or to an actor. It could be any of those.
It could be any of those. In fact, it has been.
I see. Thank you.
I think we would also be neglecting our duty if we didn't talk about something else that's going to happen. I don't know how we got this far in the program without talking about a jazz quartet. And so, yes. Bob, maybe you'd like to share with us.
I was going to say that there is, I mentioned the featuring of the North Idaho artists. Tom Magnuson, whose mother, Colleen Magnuson, is a recipient this year of the Governor's Award for Support of the Arts, serves on the commission, and he, of course, had excused himself from any participation. And but he had taken percussion lessons from a member of the Boston Pops Jazz Quartet, and in sort of looking around for some really spectacular group to be here, he said that he would be willing to contact them. He contacted them, and they were willing to come at an incredibly reduced rate. I mean, I could hardly even discuss how reduced it was. And Tom felt that Idaho Commission of the Arts money should not be spent to bring an outside artist in, and so he personally undertook to raise the money to bring them here, so that the Idaho Commission on the Arts is the beneficiary of their generosity. So they will be playing at the event 2 numbers, and then the really important news is that the reception following, and you must have a ticket to the event, and that will be your ticket to the reception at the Coeur d'Alene Resort, and they will be playing for about an hour and a half during the reception. So if you're a jazz aficionado, then that's the Boston Pop Jazz Quartet, one of the top in the country, and they will be playing for an extended period at the resort. But there'll be no admission to that. It's a closed event unless you have your ticket from the Governor's Award. So for $10, I don't know of a better entertainment value you could find anywhere in the country. It truly is. And we deliberately have kept that price down because we want this to be open to everybody, that there really is hardly anyone who could not afford that price ticket. And in fact, we've had some generous people who've bought some tickets and said if you have someone who would love to see the show, an artist who maybe is struggling, a student, use the tickets for them. So we have a few of those, and I don't think there'll be anybody who would want to attend this that could not.
So we're just about out of time. We've got a signal. We have 2 minutes left, but as someone who's received this award in the past, do you past recipients have any particular role in the awards? I know you're going to be there, or how would you advise those who are going to be receiving rewards to be prepared for what might happen?
Well, it's such a joyous event, and they'll be surrounded by their friends and family, and it will be great fun. And the fun continues because those memories stay with you. And it's a wonderful thing for our whole region to have recipients receiving these particular awards for their support of the arts in our part of the state as well as the rest of the state of Idaho.
I think you made just an excellent point, and that ties a bridge back yourself to Bob, and that is we commend you for taking, you're a very busy person, and I know your law practice for both of you is very busy, but you volunteered to coordinate this, and I know there's many hours gone in it, and both of you were just excellent too to help us with the international conference for over 3 years, and that came, and so it's because of people like you that these things happen in our community. We commend you, and we thank you for being on the program. On behalf of Steve Shink and our staff, again, our great appreciation. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very sure that you've enjoyed our very first program of the 23rd year, and we'd like to invite you to be with us again next week, and we're happy to report that Bob Brown will be back with us, and we're going to continue to talk about not only this subject of the Governor's Awards, but we're going to expand into some questions about the Commission in this state and the Western Federation, and all of you who are enthusiasts of particularly the arts, please join us as we discuss that next week. Until then, have a good week. I am Tony Stewart.
The North Idaho College Public Forum was videotaped live from the studios of Instructional Technology on the campus of North Idaho College for viewing at this more appropriate time. We invite you to join us again next week for another all-new edition of the North Idaho College Public Forum on this public television station. From the College by the Lake, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Local, regional, national, and international guests discussing the issues and topics affecting the way you live are on Forum, the North Idaho College Public Forum, with your host and moderator, political scientist Tony Stewart.
Welcome to the North Idaho College Public Forum. We're very pleased this week to have a guest who was with us last week, and we're going to do part 2 of our subject. I welcome to the program Bob Brown, who is a member of the board of the Idaho Commission on the Arts, and he has chaired that particular commission in the past. It's a special weekend in Coeur d'Alene. We welcome to our community the Idaho Governor's Awards in the Arts, and Bob Brown, in addition to being a member of the Commission on the Arts, is the chair of this planning committee that's brought this successful event to our city this weekend. Last week, for you who did not view our program, we talked about what would happen this weekend here in Coeur d'Alene, and the awards that are given to very deserving persons, and also the entertainment and events that take place. We're going to follow up on that some this week, but also I'm happy to report we're going to expand into some other areas of discussion of the arts, and particularly Bob can assist us in talking about the Western States Arts Federation, where he is the Idaho delegate to that 13-state organization. And we have some news about what they're going to be doing in the Northwest in the future. Bob, welcome back from last week. It was a great program, and I know because of that program, some people are here this weekend enjoying the event that is taking place, and we congratulate you for taking time to coordinate that special weekend.
Thank you. I hope that people will have a chance to enjoy this weekend. The Idaho Commission will be here, and we have been meeting here since Thursday, and of course it'll be the big capstone will be the ceremony itself, which I think will be a wonderful event. So,
yes, let's go back, because last week we even gave some samples of the entertainment that was taking place, and we talked about the awards, what the governor does, and that Patty Duke is here with the governor doing all of this. But let's go back historically for a little. We could even repeat a few things from last week, but even some more detail about what has happened in the past. Again, for our viewers in states like Wyoming and Nevada and Oregon and so forth, and in Canada, they may not be familiar with what we're doing. How did that start in Idaho, and what's the purpose of this particular function?
Well, actually, I think every state of the Union now has a Governor's Award program. In Canada, I don't know what the provinces do, but the other western states, it was a program that spread like wildfire back in the late 60s, early 70s, of the governor to show his or her the feelings about the importance of art, reaches out and selects a very limited number of people in each of their states to receive a very special award. Most states do it only every 2 years because they feel that they want to make the award a very special award, and if they gave away 15 or 20 every year, pretty soon it wouldn't have the kind of luster that this program in Idaho does.
I suppose it wouldn't be as much preparation in preparing.
There could not be, and this is the planning for this program truly begins the very first meeting of the commission following the last award ceremony. The committee is appointed, and the work begins on planning and improving the program. It really is an incredible amount of preparation goes into the not only the entertainment package, but the co-host. There have been some incredible co-hosts of this program with the governors. We've had Governor Samuelson, Governor Anderson, Governor Evans have all participated over the 24 years. But we've had some people I think would surprise some of our viewers. We've had Agnes DeMille, the famous choreographer and a dancer before that, who was the choreographer for Oklahoma and really broke a whole new wave of what was called the Broadway musicals. Vincent Price has been a co-host, Josh Logan, the famous director. We've had Ann Southern, Bill Fagerbakke. Both Ann and Bill are from Idaho originally, and like Patty Duke this year, she now lives in Idaho. But in the early days, they just had people who would be invited to come, and they came. So it's been a long tradition of celebrities with the governor.
Mm-hmm. You've also indicated in past discussions on this that it's not moved around the state much, and so that's something significant about this week in Coeur d'Alene.
It's been pretty much centered in the Boise area, and several commissioners have made the argument that this is a statewide arts award program, and that it's very expensive for people to go from Pocatello or from Lewiston, Coeur d'Alene, Sandpoint, down to Boise every 2 years. And so I have been a great promoter since I've been on the commission now 6 years of urging that we sort of move this out and try to get the program so that people in the different areas of the state have an opportunity to see this program. So this will be, as I say, one of the few times it's ever left Boise. We did have it in Nampa, which was only 20 miles from Boise one year, but amazingly enough, a lot of people in Nampa came who had never traveled even into Boise to see it. And so I think it's a good thing for the arts, and it's a good thing for the people in this community to have an opportunity to see an outstanding program.
This program goes all over Idaho as well as other states, and so this picture given might also appeal to the good people of eastern Idaho that would like to bring it over there someday.
I think they should start getting ready, because I know the Eastern Idaho commissioners have shown some interest in maybe having the show in the Pocatello, Idaho Falls area at some point in the future.
A philosophical question that I would like to ask, and that has to do with once that we know that the commission does many, many things and promotes the arts and they grow, but let's just zero back in on this particular event. In addition to that real focus of honoring people who are so deserving within the arts, what else does this ceremony and the publicity and all do for the arts in the state of Idaho, or any other state that's doing this kind of particular, obviously she said all of them have the Governor's Arts Awards?
I think this kind of a program focuses attention on the arts. It makes people stop and think, like the people who watch the Academy Awards, the people who read about the book awards. Anytime there is an award ceremony, Americans in particular, it seems to me, think that if something is being honored, it has value. And so often I think that to honor the arts in this way, for many people, gives them a chance to say, that, gosh, to be a wonderful jeweler like one of our winners this year, Gail Dial from Pocatello, is just a marvelous metal sculptor and doesn't work in jewelry. And to have her selected for this will focus attention on that particular art form. We have a conductor-composer who's being honored. And I think that as you see someone like that being honored, it makes you stop and think about conducting and what does a conductor do and how does a symphony orchestra exist. And it just opens up a lot of questions in people's minds about the art form. And I think it's a very important thing for the average member of the public to get this appreciation for the different kinds of art.
You've identified two areas of awards that's happened this weekend in Coeur d'Alene. Would you like to tell us about some others? And again, I know they're from all over the state, and there's also someone from North Idaho.
Mm-hmm. There are actually 9 winners this year. And I'd like to mention one thing we did not have a chance to discuss last week. This is the Governor's Award in the Arts. The Idaho Commission on the Arts is just a partner. We facilitate the process. We send out the nomination forms. We process the nominations. We have the jury for the artists that are selected. But then we send all of these nominations to the governor, and the governor has always made the final selection. This is not the Idaho Commission on the Arts Awards. It's the Governor's Awards. And he has added people. In fact, he added a person this year that was not on the original list because he takes a very active interest in this and has over the years looked around and felt that a particular person or organization should be honored, and he's added them to the list. So, but the others, this year there are 3 winners in the actual art excellence in the arts, and I mentioned Gail Dial, the jeweler. There's also the conductor Jim Cockey from McCall, and then a group that I'm just so pleased has been recognized as the Idaho Theater for Youth. They travel all over the state of Idaho. There's not a person watching the show in the state of Idaho, I would submit, who've not had them come to their community. They travel to the schools. They were the first Idaho theater company to be invited to the Kennedy Center for a 1-month workshop and program that they gave. They're just a wonderful group of people, and we were really pleased that they were honored. The support of the arts, and we mentioned last week we had Sue Flamia, one of the recipients on the show. The support of the arts is a category of people who are maybe have artistic leanings themselves but work in the arts. These are people that promote the art. You could have, for example, First Security Bank has been a winner. Groups, organizations or businesses who have done a particularly long, it's the length of time is one of the primary criteria. They don't want someone who does a really good job 1 year would not be in contention. It's someone who's done a really good job for a long time. And you mentioned Sue Flamia last week, and she and Patrick have worked, tirelessly for the arts for over a quarter of a century here or more. And so it's people like that in that category. The winners this year, there's 2 from Boise, John Chapman and Jack Alato, who've done a tremendous amount of work in that area. And then Vanjie Osborne, who is just recently left as director of the Idaho Shakespeare Theater. and she's worked in many, many arts groups. She's also a winner in that area. And then the one North Idaho person of the 5 northern counties is Colleen Magnuson, who lives in Wallace, was on the Idaho Arts Commission, and was instrumental in starting the Wallace Arts Council, and has been a longtime promoter of the Silver Design Contest, which has become a very illustrious awards program. Then the final category, and I'll let you get back to questions, but the final category is art and education. And that was only added 4 years ago. It was a recognition by our commission that there were the people who had done work with children and young people in particular, that they deserved a very special award for their work in the arts and education, because that's where audiences come from, that's where people who appreciate art. If you don't start getting it in grade school and junior high and high school on into college, when you get out into the community as an adult, if you've had no exposure to the art, it's very hard to know what you like, or if you would want to go to the theater, if you'd want to go to hear a symphony orchestra. So we feel that the art and education is a very important part of this. So we started giving them a special award, and I'm pleased that in the short lifespan of this program, Jane Morgan from Coeur d'Alene was one of the winners 2 years ago in that category. She teaches at Dalton School and has just done a tremendous job in 271 in that area. Then Dr. Shirley Hennigan is the winner this year. She's taught drama at Lewis and Clark in Lewiston for about 25 years. And so these people who have, it can be at a grade school level or a college level, anywhere in between, but who worked in art education.
Well, that certainly is a great explanation of not only how people are honored, but how it does promote the arts. And I'm glad that you point out that it's in the various states, including Idaho, it's the governor's award. Let's talk for a minute about the general functions, responsibilities of the Idaho Commission on the Arts, the other kind of things they do, and then I want to move into the Western Federation and what happens there.
Well, the Idaho Commission on the Arts, of course, is an extremely broad-based program. Mm-hmm. We're a granting organization. That is to say, we receive money from both the Idaho Legislature and the National Endowment for the Arts, and we in turn then ask organizations and artists who would like financial support for their endeavors to submit grants, and the grants are looked at and examined very carefully, and then money is awarded. And we've been a tremendous assist to arts groups throughout Idaho, and in fact Idaho is recognized nationally as having really one of the burgeoning arts organizations. We've gone from arts councils, for example, to having, and I don't have these maybe exactly right, but 3 or 4, say 15 years ago, and we now have like 27 or 30 in operation. And towns like St. Mary's Art Council, Wallace Art Council, Kamiah. There are councils in towns that would have never even dreamed to have had one 10 years ago. And now, Post Falls has an art commission. The city of Coeur d'Alene has an art commission. There's been a great increase in the awareness of art in various communities around the state. And I think the Idaho Art Commission has played a very significant role in that development. We made a commitment 10 years ago that we were going to bring art into rural towns, and that has been one of our highest priorities. And we've hired staff and gone out with technical assistance and helped struggling, small, young arts groups survive in these towns, and they just take off. It truly is like bringing a baby bird food for long enough, then they leave the nest. We have a salary assistance program, and we give them quite a bit of assistance the first year. We decrease it the second year, and then decrease it the third year, and the fourth year they're on their own. And we've had practically no failures at all. Once we've done that program, they've been able to exist just fine.
It's really a contribution of a grassroots, not only appreciation, but activities in the arts. So I would hear you saying that citizens can also travel to events, as some of them have here this week in Coeur d'Alene, but they also have things in their home or their local community.
And Tony, one of the things I know that you know, because we've talked about it a lot, but the Idaho Art Commission, its art is not like just opera and symphonic music. We have cowboy poets, and we have Old Time Fiddlers contest. We participate in that. We participate in the Jazz Festival at University of Idaho, the Lionel Hampton Jazz Festival. We support literature. We support dance, both modern, classical, ballet, virtually every kind of dance, theater, from the carousel players right here in Coeur d'Alene and the Northwest Playhouse received assistance from us financially. Performing Arts Alliance here has received grants. It doesn't really, to us, art is such a wide, broad field that it encompasses virtually anyone who has talent in whatever field.
I want to go now and talk about another organization that you're on. You've given so much of your time to artists. You have other things, and it's called the Western States Art Federation, and I said earlier in introducing you that you're the Idaho delegate. Give us a little bit of background to this organization, its structure, and then we're going to get into some of its functions.
Again, I believe it was about a quarter of a century ago that the National Endowment realized that it was very hard to give their funds effectively to 50 states and 4 territories. So they encouraged the creation of what were called regional arts organizations, and there's the New England, the Midwestern, Mid-American, Southern, and then the Western region. Well, I think if they had it to do all over again, they would have realized that saying, well, we'll just have the West be one region, and that encompasses from Colorado and Utah and Montana, Wyoming, to Alaska, to Hawaii. It has states with Wyoming with 500,000 people, and states with California that have maybe 20 cities with more than 500,000 people. It is a very difficult region. And in the East, we just had a meeting in Phoenix. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, I just was back from that meeting. And the meeting there involved a person from the National Endowment, and he was talking about the tour, performing artist touring. And he was thinking about, you could go from Connecticut to Massachusetts to Rhode Island in a day, and have say 3 events on 3 successive nights. And we're talking about 3 days to get from Wyoming to Denver. You're traveling not by plane, but if you have a lot of equipment and so forth. And it's very hard for them in the East to understand the vast distances. But one of the things they did was create this WESTAF, and all 13 Western states originally were members. Hawaii has had a difficult time because they are so isolated from anyone else in the United States that they are participating now in some programs but not others. So we have a 12-state membership and a 13-state involvement, and it goes from Alaska and Hawaii throughout the entire West. So it's the membership in the board that runs the WESTAF. Every state's executive director of their state art commission is an automatic member, and then each state has a trustee that comes, and I'm, for example, the Idaho trustee. And then there are 5 to 8 members at large, so that you can, what they try to do is they've sort of drawn a matrix of what sorts of people they need for leadership in the arts, and they try to, when the nominations come in, they try to plug people into the holes that they feel are needed. So if there are not enough artists on the WESTAF board, and that's what they're looking for, that would be the person who would be selected. They may be looking for arts administrators or people like myself who really have no tie to any particular arts group, but just sort of like a member of the public. Mm-hmm. And so that's how the board is set up.
Mm-hmm. Give us some of the responsibilities. I know you hinted at that when you said that they had a hard time from the national board to work and I guess make decisions and funding to 50 states. So I assume that a lot of the funding is routed through the regional organization down to the states.
National Endowment really gives quite a large grant to each of the regionals, and I happen to be, for the last 2 years, chair of the Performing Arts Committee of WESTAF, and that is the largest grant group in WESTAF. We give about $800,000 a year to artists and arts organizations in the West. Another example of a recipient here in Coeur d'Alene, Performing Arts Alliance, is bringing in Alvin Alley Dance Company this coming year. And they applied to WESTAF for assistance and funding, and they were in fact given a grant. So we can give grants directly to an organization, or we can, like the visual arts, they will give grants directly to an artist in a fellowship. So that, let's say if you were a painter and you knew that if you could just have a year where you didn't have to worry so much about being a college professor, you could really study under an opportunity perhaps to study under some famous painter, and you would apply for a fellowship. And if your work was such and your promise was such, then you could get a fellowship, and it would be a cash money that you could live on while you were having this opportunity to study, so you wouldn't have to teach and have your mind taken away from painting. Although we get so many outcries from students, if you didn't teach it, probably they'd be angry with us for letting you not teach for a year. So that's not a very good example, but that's the kind of thing we can do too.
Also, in your funds, you can also direct a portion of that directly to the commission in the state, so they can disperse it again, or do you do it directly?
We normally do it directly to the artists and the arts organizations. Okay. We give a lot of technical assistance to the different commissions. The staff, the headquarters are in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and that is and that's a beautiful place to be. But again, it's interesting that we picked the southeast corner of the whole western region to have the headquarters. So everything comes out of Santa Fe, but it's worked well today with fax machines and telephones and all the things that hook us up together, computers. It could be anywhere and work just as well. But they do operate out of Santa Fe, and the technical assistance program, they will assist the 13 Western States Arts Commissions. They will assist arts councils, like here in Kootenai County Arts Council, or they will assist individual artists with grants.
Now this is a rather remarkable year for both these organizations as it relates geographically to Coeur d'Alene. It's my understanding the board and the staff will be coming here also.
Mm-hmm. They're coming in October, and it will be their first meeting ever in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And it's kind of ironic because it's the last meeting where they'll be going to the different states. They have, over the years, have had one of the two meetings each of the year in Santa Fe and one in one of the western states. Last year, for example, we met in Colorado. The year before, we met in Montana. We have met in Arizona, almost all the western states. So they decided 2 years ago to examine that policy, and last year voted not to do it. But no one wanted to give up coming to Coeur d'Alene, so it was an interesting vote. They voted not to do it anymore after next year. So they have been coming to Coeur d'Alene.
Again, that highlights for the people in this area and gives a great emphasis to the arts while they're here. Although I know that's different from this other event where the public was coming and participating. But
the meetings are open to the public, and anyone would be would be welcome to sit in. There are board meetings, like most board meetings. A lot of the work has been done in committees. A lot of the work is done in between meetings with conference calls and so forth. When a group only meets twice a year, there's obviously a lot of business, and so the business has to be conducted throughout the 6 months prior to the meeting. So a lot of things are discussed, and committee reports will tell what that committee has been doing for the past 6 months. One of the things I'd like to mention about the West Staff meeting that they were particularly interested in coming to Coeur d'Alene is the creation between the Kootenai County Arts Council and the Hagedorn Hospitality, that gallery by the lake that's in the shopping plaza here in Coeur d'Alene. They are extremely interested in that as a model of a collaboration between private industry and an arts council in having them pay part of the salary of our arts council director, and we pay part of the salary, and the director runs the gallery, and then also the gallery is the headquarters for the arts council, and they're allowed to have their posters, and they do ticket sales, and so it's a highly visible place for our arts council to have an office, and we don't have to pay any rent because of the marriage between the two. So the West Staff people are extremely interested in coming to look at that model to see if it's something that could be exported to other areas in the West.
It actually appears that there could be a much more comprehensive program going on that would not happen without that kind of government and private enterprise mixture?
When this idea was first being discussed, and I met with Jerry Jagers and people from the Hagedorn Hospitality, it was clear that they had the ability to do some things that we could not possibly do, and that is a beautiful space, the architecture, the remodeling that they did in terms of making this gallery into it's just a breathtaking space, and people who've seen it will say that they've seen many galleries around the United States that are not as exquisitely done as this one. We had the ability that they don't have of knowing who the artists were and contacting the artists, screening the artists, and then having really high quality artists in the gallery. And so it was a beautiful marriage, because we do what we do best and they do what they do best. And so between the two of us, it's been a very successful program, and the West Staff is interested in that.
With the State Commission and with the Western Federation, and then with Art on the Green here, there's so much happening that's it gels together, and therefore I know from what I have heard that even the number of artists that are applying for showing and so forth has increased, and actually it raises the quality, because you do have to make selections of who you're going to invite for shows.
Well, in every area, Art of the Green is certainly a wonderful example, but you know, the number of applications for actors in the theater groups, the people who want to have a show at the different galleries, every area of the arts. I've got
a signal, we're out of time. Bob Brown, thank you, from the Idaho Commission on the Arts, and also the Western States Arts Federation has been most informed. I congratulate you for what you have worked on to bring to Coeur d'Alene. Ladies and gentlemen, I know you have found this most informative, and I'd like to invite you to be with us again next week when we'll discuss yet another subject. Until then, please have a good week. I am Tony Stewart.
The North Idaho College Public Forum was videotaped live from the studios of Instructional Technology on the campus of North Idaho College for viewing at this more appropriate time. We invite you to join us again next week for another all-new edition of the North Idaho College Public Forum on this public television station.